At the time this video is going live, it's May 22nd, 2015. 35 years ago, on this date, Pac-Man made his debut in Japanese arcades. So, in tribute to this momentous day, I am paying tribute to the very first icon in video games. Here in the US, we didn't see a release of Pac-Man until some months later. However, since that Japanese debut was the first time anybody in the world saw Pac-Man in the arcades, I'm calling that the date of his birth, so to speak. When I was little, it seemed like Pac-Man was everywhere, permeated all different forms of pop culture in the time, but of course there were video games. Some form of Pac-Man or a follow-up is available on pretty much any and every format that can play a video game, and if there's not a version of Pac-Man on this, you can count on it that there's going to be some form of clone. He was just that popular. My earliest memory of playing Pac-Man was on the Atari 2600. I know that's not the best version, but when you're 4 years old, that's what you've got, so you play it. Judged on its own, I don't feel it's all that terrible, but of course, compared to the arcade, that's a different story. Another home port I played quite a bit was the NES version by Tengen. Back before Namco had any foothold in the American market, Atari had the console rights and the arcade machine was handled by Midway. So Atari brought the game to the NES under their Tengen label. This version is identical to Namco's port of the game to the Famicom and the later Namco NES release. Since then, Namco has released a number of compilations of their classic arcade games, and naturally, Pac-Man is part of those. Personally, the ones that I've played most were the Namco Museum on the PlayStation 1 and Game Boy Advance. As I stated before, aside from the original game, there were a bunch of follow-ups. A few of which, including Miss Pac-Man, were not authorized by Namco. This naturally led to Namco and Midway parting ways, but Namco continued to make a bunch of games featuring Pac-Man. Many of those I find to be fairly interesting, to say the least. Some show inspiration from the 1982 Saturday morning cartoon, others try to take influence from the other popular mascots of the time, such as Mario and Sonic. Others really had some novel innovations and some really interesting spins on Pac-Man, but none of them ever achieved the mass appeal of the original. From Pac-Man Vs. with its novel multiplayer to Pac-Attack with its Tetris-inspired gameplay, none of these were ever massive hits, but you gotta hand it to Namco for continuing to try to keep their mascot relevant and interesting over the years. The last video game that Pac-Man's creator, Teru Iwatani, had worked on was Pac-Man Championship Edition, which is available for a number of downloadable services. It takes the familiar arcade gameplay and puts a few interesting spins on it. It seems kind of fitting that Iwatani closed his book on his career with the Pac-Man game. And even more recently from that, Pac-Man, of course, has appeared as a playable character in the most recent editions of the Super Smash Bros. Series for the 3DS and the Wii U. This is another perfect fit if you ask me, since he's joining the ranks of Mario, Sonic, Mega Man, Kirby, and a bunch of other icons of video games. Of course, it's also worth noting that Pac-Man will be appearing in the upcoming Adam Sandler film Pixels. It being an Adam Sandler film, though, it's highly unlikely that I'll be seeing it, so that's about all I gotta say about that. Join me in celebrating this momentous occasion by enjoying some Pac-Man for yourself. Happy 35th, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care. If you like what you see, feel free to check me out on social media. Otherwise, you can subscribe to this channel. I do new videos every Friday, sometimes on Wednesdays too. Once again, thank you for watching. Take care. Pac-Man.